Hey, what's up YouTubers? Lee John Blackmore here at Super Easy Guitar. So this week I wanted to talk about how to play any song using just one chord shape. Now, I always talk about simplifying stuff, and this is probably one of the main things I used when I first learned guitar. I probably used this more than anything else to work out songs. So what I'm talking about is our favorite friend, the power chord. Okay, so the power chord, yeah, it's used in rock. Its real name is a fifth chord because it uses a first and a fifth, which just means it's the first note in the scale and the fifth note in the scale. Okay, but we call them power chords because they sound quite powerful, right? They're used in kind of rock and roll and stuff. So how can we use this to our advantage? Well, let me give you a couple of examples, okay? Say we had a song, just three chords, nothing in particular, G, C and D. And what if you're a complete beginner and you're just kind of struggling getting these chord shapes? Well, ideally, my advice would be to learn the chords because obviously it's going to help you. It's going to help you improve. But in the meantime, to prevent frustration and you still want to get on with these songs, you could do that whole thing in power chords. So what I did, I played G, C, D, C, D. Okay, so you might recognize the song, but it's not important. So here we go. I'm going to play G, C, D, C. Now, I'm just playing one chord shape. And I'm moving that shape to the next strings. Sliding it up, back, back, beginning. Okay, so that's one example. But what if we had like a real, famous song, I don't know, something... Something kind of made famous by one of the guys from the Beatles. Okay, so you're either going to know that or not. Now that's very much, to get that sound, really you want the chords, the open chords. But again, they can be played in power chords. Anything can really be played on power chords. So what I was playing there, C, changed it a bit, then F. They're the main chords, okay? C and F. Da, 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 da. So C, da, 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 F. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. So, yeah, it doesn't sound like the original, but hey, why not play your own version? It could be on the electric guitar. It doesn't have to be on the acoustic guitar, You could do a punk version. The whole point is I'm playing those kind of tricky chords if you're a beginner. C and F, but you can just use this one shape. Now, if you don't know the shape, it's always the same no matter where you play it. Well, there are some slight differences, but basically on the bottom two strings, the shape is always the same. So if I was going to start at the 5th fret, so wherever I put my finger, so my first finger is going to be on the 5th fret, there's always a fret in between, and the 3rd finger always goes on the string next to. So it's like a pair, and I'm only playing the strings I've got my fingers on. That's very important, okay? So I see people making the mistake trying to play all the strings. That's not going to sound cool, okay? It's going to be wrong. So only hit the strings you've got your fingers on. So I could move this down now. I'm always following the first finger, so I could move that down to the 3rd fret, okay? So I'm moving my first finger down to the 3rd fret. I'm just taking the pressure off and moving it down. But you see, this 3rd finger tails it. It follows it on the same string. So Okay, so the first one on the 5th fret is A. The 3rd fret is G. I could go down 2 frets again and becomes F. Back up. So nothing in particular, okay? So A, G, F, it's kind of a famous section from the song. Okay, so you don't have to do it in open chords, you can do it in power chords. Yes, it sounds different, but it's still correct. But how do I know what the chord names are here? Well, this is the thing that no one bothers to learn, and you should learn because it'll make you really good. If you go online and you're using Ultimate Guitar or whatever to find the chords, it will give you the chord names, right? So you have the lyrics and it'll say C, G, E or something like that, right? So C, G, E or C, G, E, okay, they're open chords, you might not be able to do them. Well, if you learn the notes on just this bottom string, you can actually play any of those just on this low string. So what you do, you learn the musical alphabet, and it doesn't take long, it's really easy, on just this bottom string. So a lot of people don't do this, even adults I teach don't bother to learn this, and it's like kind of, you know, this is going to help you improve radically, okay? So do it. Open E is the lowest tone, okay? 1st fret F, 2nd fret F sharp, 3rd fret G, G sharp, 4th fret, okay, 5th fret is going to be A, yeah, then 6th fret A sharp, 7th fret B, 8th fret C, 9th fret C sharp, 10th fret D, 11th fret D sharp, and 12th fret E, just like open. And it starts again, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and so on, okay? So, because you've got those notes there, they're pretty much all the notes you need for basic guitar playing, okay? So what did I say before? C, G, E, all right? So we find C, so I know that's the 8th fret because I've learnt them, so I put my first finger on the 8th fret. Remember, skip a fret and then tail the 3rd finger on the next string, okay? Just play the strings you've got your fingers on. That's C. We want to play G. I know the 3rd fret's G, so I move that down to G. And then E. E is open, right? So you end up going past the nut here because that's basically your finger, so you can do it like that. And open, and the 3rd finger is going to be in the 2nd fret. So it's going to be C. You can do it with your 1st finger there. So my 1st finger is now 2nd fret on the A string, or if you don't want to move, because I like to keep a finger on a string. Okay, so that's C, G, E. Let's take something else as an example. Let's take, like, I don't know, maybe an Iron Maiden song or something like that. That's quite complicated, but when you look at the verse, da 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 da. So sounds complicated, but actually the actual song is just power chords, but they're playing the strings. Instead of playing them together like that, they're toggling between. So obviously I've gone over to the A string now. How do I know what note that is? Well, if you learnt the notes on the E string, it's just as easy to learn the notes on the A string. A is the lowest note. One higher than A is A sharp. One higher than A sharp is B. One higher than B is C. C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. 12th fret is A, the same as the open. All the notes on the 12th fret the same as the opens. They're just what we call octaves, right? Because there's 8 whole tones in between them. 8 like A, B, C, D, not counting the sharps and flats. If you did count the sharps and flats, it'd be 12, right? Because there's 12 frets. So when I'm playing the Iron Maiden one, I'm not going to mention it for copyright, okay? I'm on the 5th fret on the A string, so we've learned that's D. And I'm doing the same chord shape, the same power chord shape. Then I'm sliding it down to the 1st fret, which is, we can call it A sharp or B flat. Then C goes up to the 3rd fret. Back, back, beginning. And he's just toggling between the A string and the D string, okay? The 5th and the 4th. 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. Okay, see what I'm doing there with my pick in hand? It's just a power chord. Metallica use the same shape as well in most of their songs. Or whatever, okay? You can do that whole thing in power chords. Okay, I'm going E. What's that? 10, 9, 8. Then, you know, you can incorporate the riffs. One finger. You can put power chord on the end. Okay, don't forget, you can put power chord anywhere there's just a finger. Yeah, I don't know if that's actually that accurate. I'm doing it from memory, but yeah, just to show you can pretty much use power chords for anything. Even if you're doing like reggae, I did a reggae video the other day. Okay, so I'm not doing anything complicated, but the thing I am doing is only playing the strings I've got my fingers on. You know, punk rock? Whether it's Green Day or whatever, okay, they use that quite a lot. To take that as an example, they got a famous song. Sorry. That's it. And you're like, okay, well, how are you going to get around that? Well, certain things, you're going to have to learn the picking if you want that sound. But if you want to just do a version of it, but you're like, hang on a minute, I don't know the chords, I don't know where to play this stuff. But remember, if you look up the chords, G, C, D, or C add 9, D, it's the same thing, okay? Just take the first note, G, so E, F, F sharp, G, put the tail on it. The rhythm's something else, that's something you're going to have to work on. You can just do downstrokes. Then C, you could go all the way up there. And then D, so you can play it all on one string. But the reason someone invented another string is so we don't have to go all the way up here, okay? Because we make the strings next to the neighboring strings a bit closer, okay? So I know C is up here, but it's also at the 3rd fret here. You see, it sounds the same, right? It's slightly different voicing, but it's the same. So you could go G, and just move that whole shape over to the next string, C, then 2 up, D, and back to the beginning. And it's easier than doing this, right? Sometimes you might want to do that. You might want that sound, okay? It sounds thicker, but for convenience, it's much easier to go to the next strings. So there's virtually any song you can turn into power chords, and it's one chord shape no matter where you go. The only difference that happens, the only thing that changes is when you get onto the you know, okay, so you could go over to the D string. You could do the same thing, okay? So I'm on the 3rd fret on the D string now. So that's going to be D, D sharp, E, F. F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp. Okay, so again, you could learn the notes up there if you like, but rarely would I use power chords up there. And then if you went over to the G string to do a power chord, it's going to sound wrong. And that's because when we tune our guitar, when we get to the G string, we just tune it slightly off one. We tune it off one step, okay? Which means we have to extend the step. So instead of it being 1 fret in between, it has to be 2 frets in between off the G string. Okay? That's really why we don't play power chords up there. So my advice would be just to stick to the 2 low strings, okay? And you'll get the idea. So hope that's helped some of you beginners. Get good at this chord shape. You might be tempted to use the pinky there. I wouldn't really recommend it because you might want to use the pinky for something else later on. But it's really good practice, and there's tons of songs you can learn. And remember, you can just do it on 1 string. Yeah, I'm trying to remember it, as you might have realized. But you can do it on 1 string as well. You don't be scared of going to the other string. It does get easier, okay? Really learn these notes, okay, guys? They're going to help you massively. And you might have you might be in a band with 2 guitar players or whatever, and you know, the one guitarist might be playing the G, C, D chords. And you think, well, I don't really want to do the same thing as him. Maybe I'll just do the power chords. Make it sound a bit heavier, okay? So enjoy that. Get really good at playing this power chord. And remember, only play the strings that you got your fingers on. People make that mistake all the time. Hope this tips lesson has helped you guys, okay? Don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you'd like to receive my weekly updates. There's some links below for Spotify playlists and Instagram if you'd like to send me a message. I'll do my very best to reply. And also, I've got some t-shirts for sale, and there's a link on my website if you'd like to support me over here for what I do. Any tips I'd really appreciate, because I don't get paid for most of these videos, and any little thing helps me out to cover the cost of my strings and stuff like that. So thanks very much for your support, guys. I'll see you again the same time next week.